YouTube, Best of the Goats here, and today I'm going to be showcasing pure Eldlich. So my shop had a winner box event this week, so because it was going to be a bigger tournament, I wanted to play something simple that I wouldn't have to put too much thought into, so I didn't make as many misplays. It kind of worked. I went 2-2, didn't get enough wins to get a box unfortunately, but I had a good time playing this deck. Now I've shown Eldlich on this channel before, but it's always been as an engine in things like Burning Abyss and Invoked, so playing the pure version was definitely different. Also, there will be a lot of back-turned cards here because I borrowed a lot of floodgates from the judge who gave us all a bunch of cards to help finish our decks. So thank you to him. That said, let's begin. We have a very small amount of monsters, 2 Lord of the Heavenly Prison and 2 Eldlich the Golden Lord. So we'll start with the Golden Lord. The Golden Lord is obviously the key to our deck. You can discard him in a back row, pop a card on the field, and then you can send a back row from your field to the graveyard to summon him back to the field with an extra 1,000 points, and he can't be destroyed until the next turn. So this lets us put Eldlich cards in the graveyard to get the graveyard effects off. It's a massive body, it's not affected by skill drain. It's a really powerful card, the key of this deck. Lord of Heavenly Prison, which again I haven't got the actual card, I have to borrow this one. It's a 3,000 tap point monster. You can reveal it in your hand, and while it's revealed, your opponent cannot pop your back row for the turn. Also, while it's revealed, if you activate a back row, you can summon it and set a back row from your deck, but the back row gets banned at the end of the turn. So this lets us protect our cards from harpies. It lets us go digging for another piece of back row if we start running low. Adds a 3k body that's level 10, so it gives us access to our rank 10 pool. And those are the only monsters we need to run in this deck. No need for any hand traps. The rest of the deck is back row interaction and protection. So starting for the spells, we have 3 copies of Cursed Eldland. This card is one of the reasons why we only need to play 2 Eldlich in the main, because when you activate it, you can pay 800 points, add an Eldlich or Golden Land card from deck to your hand, and when it's sent to the graveyard, you can have Foolish Burial Goods an Eldlich card. I mean, this is just one of the best cards we have here. It can get you started by searching an Eldlich, you can pop it with Eldlich to get him back, and then you can set up your graveyard for future plays. The only downside is it prevents anything that's not a zombie from attacking while it's on the field, but we're only playing Eldlich as a monster anyway, so that's not very much of a downside in this deck. Next, for some more draw power, we have 3 copies of Pot of Extravagance and 1 card of Demise. So, Pot of Extravagance, we always banish 6 to draw 2. We literally have 1, maybe 2 monsters in our extra deck we actually care about, so as long as we don't hit that 1 card, we're usually pretty fine. And card Demise is an interesting one, since you can't summon the Eldlich unless when you activate it. But one thing you can do with this, you can set up all the back row you actually need in the game, dump any Eldliches into your graveyard, and then for future turns, you can start replaying them every turn. And that's all our spells. Now we have a bunch of trap cards, a lot of them as you can see. Start things off, we have Eldlich, Scarlet Sanguine. More consistency boosting, this card lets us bring a Golden Lord from our deck or graveyard to the field. And then you can banish it from your grave on the next turn to get a Golden Land card set. So this card again gives access to our boss monster, and lets us search for interaction from our deck. Speaking of which, the best Golden Land card is 3 copies of Conquistador. And Conquistador, when he's flipped, he becomes a monster with Foundry attack and 1800 defense, and then you can pop 1 face-up card on the field. Usually we'll be using this to take care of our opponent's monsters, but it's also good against things like Runic Fountain and other back row. Next Altec of mine is 1 copy of The Guardian. This card is 200 wall, that when flipped reduces the monster's points to 0. I play this because there are things like Blue Eyes and Dinos to run in my locals, so giving Golden Lord a way to beat over them if he's summoned from the hand is pretty good. And finally 1 Haraquero. This used to be at 2, but with 2 elements taking a bit of a backseat in my locals these days, I think 1's enough. He's just a dude crow on legs with a decent 800 type body, so he can sometimes help you push through damage. Next we have an honorary Eldlich in 3 copies of Apopus the Swamp Deity. A 2000 attack, 200 trap monster. Apopus upon flipping will negate 1 monster on the field for every continuous trap we have active. So any of these, any of our floodgates, make this card a very difficult card to out. Next, we have a bunch of floodgates. Yeah, I know it's not very fun, but this is how Eldlich needs to win in this day and age. 3 Rivalry of Warlords, triple skill drain, triple Teakboo. So I borrowed all the rivalries. This one lets people play one. Let's play one type, and this one lets them play one of each type. So these together mean the opponent can only play one monster. And I've got skill drain. It's just skill drain. It negates all monster effects, which doesn't matter for this deck because the trap monsters are still traps. So everything other than a Popus doesn't really get tagged by it. And Eldlich the Golden Lord's effects are to hand engraved, so we don't care about that. Again, I know it's not fun to see a bunch of floodgates, but it's Eldlich in 2023. It's pretty much how it's going to win. Other traps, we have 3 impermanents and 3 solemn judgments to protect our back row mostly, but also to help Eldlich not fall too far behind against decks that can make massive boards. And finally, obviously this is the main deck, but 3D barrier. This is good against Sword Soul decks, other synchro spam decks, another Assault Synchron's legal. Like Manadim, for example, it's good against Branded. And I think this is a really good main deck tech. Most of our extra isn't really that important. We have some decent links. I use Cross Sheep here because its XC ability can reduce. That's right. Can reduce monster attack points, which means we can more easily OTK with our trains. So these trains are the most important XCs. 90% of the time, if we get 2 level 10s in the field, we go into this to burn for 2k, which is good in time or good just to help us push out that last bit of damage. But sometimes we want to level up into Libre, which is pretty much an OTK tool by itself. It gains multiple attacks and it can do a ton of damage. And we also played 2 copies of Dora, because you can just set this in defense. It can be affected by card effects if you touch material. So there's a bunch of back row can be had to get over for some decks. I decided to play the rest of my rank 10 toolbox as well, just in case never went into these. And most of these are pot fodder, but they can come up. And finally, our side deck. We have a bunch of kaijus. This was for Kashtira mostly, because Ari's Heart really messes up this deck. But it was also good to out other big boss monsters. And the rest of these are just situational floodgates. For Branded, we have Grave of the Super Agent Organism, which is a Mystic Mind for level 6 or higher, so it stops things like Mirror Jade and pretty much everything that Branded can make. For Runic and Strikers, we had Anti-Spell Fragrance, and for Vanquished Soul, which one of the best players in the shop plays, I used Mind Drain. This also turns off hand traps like Drawn Lockbird. And yeah, that's my deck. Again, didn't do too great, went to 2 and 2, but could have gone worse. So thank you guys for watching. The new video will be out on Wednesday, hopefully, and I'll see you guys then.